I'm meteorologist Jake DeReese, and spring is upon us, at least a meteorological spring, which starts on March 1st. And we're entering quite a busy month. Let's look at the March calendar here for March 2025. So Saturday, March 1st, meteorological spring begins. Then we move to March 9th. That's when we spring forward, change the clocks, and lose an hour of sleep. Then we go to the week of March 16th through the 22nd. That is Michigan's Severe Weather Awareness Week. And within that week, we have the statewide voluntary tornado drill on March 19th, and astronomical spring begins on March 20th. Now you're probably asking, some of you are probably asking, why do we have two starts to the season of spring? Well, let's break it down. Let's understand the seasons, starting with meteorological spring. It always begins every year on the 1st of March and ends on May 31st, and it follows the annual temperature cycle as we're transitioning and warming into summer with those average temperatures. Allows for data and statistics to be collected a bit more easily. As astronomical spring, let's talk about that. It begins when the sun's highest point is over the equator, or the spring equinox, and it actually changes every year, the date, as astronomical seasons vary in length as well. So for this year, what we're looking at is March 20th for the start of astronomical spring, and that's going to last until June 20th before we enter astronomical summer. But the bad news here about spring is that we do lose that hour of sleep when we turn our clocks ahead. This year on March 9th, on Sunday, March 9th, we're going to be turning those clocks ahead 1 hour beginning at 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. and that's going to adjust our sunrise and sunset. Let's talk about it. So on Sunday, March 9th, that new sunrise is going to be occurring at 7:59 a.m. So a bit later, but that's usually what happens every year. But our new sunset's going to be a bit later, and a lot of you are probably going to like that, with 7:37 p.m. and that's going to keep increasing our daylight hours through the spring season. Now next we go to our Severe Weather Awareness Week for 2025. Again, this occurs on March 16th through the 22nd, and it's supposed to promote discussion about emergency preparedness in impactful weather scenarios, especially in the spring and summer times. Those phenomena includes, of course, tornadoes, flooding, hail, lightning, and we also accumulate to the statewide voluntary tornado drill, which this year occurs on Wednesday, March 19th at 1 p.m. Now again, we need to ask ourselves, do you have a plan for severe weather? Where will you go? What will you do? How will you communicate? And most important, do you know your alert systems in your area? Because with that voluntary tornado drill, it triggering the emergency sirens, that's a local public safety decision by the local emergency management. So again, definitely make sure you know where you're getting those alerts from and whether or not you might hear those sirens wherever you are in the state of Michigan. And talking about severe weather, it doesn't always occur in spring or summer. Let's take last year, for example. February 28th, the 2024 Marshall tornado. It occurred just north of Marshall in Calhoun County, and it was an EF1 tornado with max winds at 110 miles per hour. That's just shy of an EF2, which begins at 111 miles per hour. For hail, we saw close to 2.5-inch in diameter hail across southern Michigan, and look at when it occurred. This also is not usual for us here in Michigan. It occurred in the overnight hours from 12:29 a.m. to 12:40 a.m. Again, this is a scenario most known and most seen in late April, and definitely more in the summer possible, as we had really strong warm air advection, or warm temperatures really transferring from the south into our neighborhoods. Look at that. Records were broken the day before. Lansing broke a record, seeing 73 degrees on February 28th of last year. Hillsdale seeing 72 degrees. We, of course, had other ingredients as long as strong atmospheric lift, strong shear, and present instability. All ingredients that we use to forecast severe weather. Looking at this, this is velocity. This is a product that we use when we're actively tracking severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. And this is what we were looking for, that Marshall tornado. We have these blues and greens that are strong. That's telling us we have flow towards the radar. Strong pinks and reds, that's indicating flow away from the radar. And it creates this couplet, and that indicates rotation. And that's how we actively track severe weather, and that's how we will be doing it as we head through the spring and summer seasons when severe weather occurs in the state of Michigan. But now let's see what the Climate Prediction Center is predicting for this spring, March through May. Starting with temperatures, a large swath here of the country is favoring warmer than average temperatures. However, the state of Michigan here has equal chances. But let's move on to our precipitation outlook here for these next 3 months, March through May. The lower peninsula has the 40 to 50% 50% chance of seeing above average precipitation for those 3 months. So we're watching it very carefully. Now let's talk about our average temperatures at least. Starting March 1st, average highs, at least here in Lansing, around our neighborhoods, we have similar temperature trends. Average high is going to begin at 38 degrees, but look at that. By the time we end meteorological spring, average high temps are going to be in the mid-70s. Now let's talk about our overnight lows. We're starting the month of March with overnight lows average around 22 degrees. Those are going to warm by the end of meteorological spring in the mid to lower 50s. 53 degrees. So we're entering spring. Make sure you have that preparedness plan all ready and make sure you are staying safe when heading out for all of the phenomena that we see in the spring and summer months. Again, meteorological spring is upon us starting March 1st with astronomical spring beginning on March 20th.